Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. I hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend and got some rest and had some fun, and I hope you're ready to get back to the markets. Quick little look at everything, how everything ended up closing. We saw some pretty negative numbers in the Dow and S&P, in fact, and they ended up turning around decently well. So we just saw a slightly negative close there. S&P up just a little bit. Overall, did okay. The Dow was down about 60 points today, and the S&P I think about 5 or 6. So it did end up making a pretty decent turnaround and comeback and closing in the positive there. Gold's up a little bit as well. Oil has kind of recovered, but it's staying in that general area. Markets have just kind of faded. It seems from that big rally we had kind of Thursday, Friday from the European news. We're going to talk about that in a little more detail in just a moment. Here's what we have coming out today. We saw some of these numbers come out. We had ISM manufacturing, which was below 50. That's never good. And it caused a little bit of movement. We saw some activity there. We were able to grab some nice pips out of the pound dollar this morning in the group. And we made a nice trade there. And then everything has kind of just gone pretty quiet. So we're going to talk about some of those scenarios we have coming up. But the next big news, remember, is the interest rate announcement for Australia, which is looks like we're about 7 hours and a few minutes away. Remember, current rate in Australia, 3.5, expected to come out at 3.5. If you remember, let's see, it was in April 30th, where they were at 4.25 and they were expected to cut a quarter of a point, and they ended up cutting a whole half of a point. So they went from 4.25 to 3.75, and that was a big shock in the market, big shock. And then the next one, June 4th, just a couple of weeks ago, 3.75, and they dropped down to 3.5. So I would be severely shocked if they did anything. Raise or cut. I don't think they're going to do anything. I think they're just going to leave it, and it's going to be very uniform and very as expected. The rate statement's always a little bit, we always have to be a little bit prepared for those, but I'm not expecting anything too crazy. And then as far as news coming into tomorrow, nothing too crazy. Some retail sales in Australia tomorrow afternoon and a little bit of UK news. So things should be relatively tame and under control. Remember, 82 is our big important mark on the dollar index, and you can see that it's just barely dipping below that 80. It's right at 82, 81.99, right in that general area. This is strong support, so the dollar's got to stay above that, and it's got to bounce on this to keep our current trend in motion. Okay, so starting on the euro dollar, here are a couple of things that I like. We saw the euro dollar just kind of trending nicely and doing its thing, and then it was running up this channel nicely, broke out. We grabbed some good pips on the way down, and just rode this thing down. And then this was the European news. This was some of the ECB and ESM news that everyone got all excited about, and it was almost a 300 pip rally in the matter of 12 hours or so. And it took a little bit of time to get up there, but it rallied pretty nicely. And then it just kind of pooped out, so to speak, right around 12700, and it looks like we're really getting more of a double top than anything. So a couple of things that I looked at just for GWiz collection here is from this low to this high, our fib levels right here. The 50% fib is at about 125.50. A key central, no surprise there that's a possible big target, about 25 pips away. And then our 61.8 is about 125.15. So we have some pretty decent round numbers from this range right here. And the euro has been consolidating and bouncing on this 38.2% fib, which is just about the 125.80-ish area. And you can see this level back here. That turned out to be a pretty strong one for the euro and so on. So what I'm looking for is, I think, remember, there's a couple of things. Number one, when a pair breaks the 23% fib, there's like a 99.9% chance it'll reach the 38. And then again, when it breaks the 38, there's a very, very high probability that it'll reach the 50. Now, those numbers continue to go down as we get past the 50 and past the 61.8, but it's really kind of focused on the 23 and the 38. And we've broken this 38, a couple of times here, and it's consolidating right here, and you can see where there's a lot of congestion here and here. But I like this pair. I think as long as we can stay below this daily pivot here, which is just above 12600, like 126.05, I think we have a decent chance of getting a little bit of retracement and then trading this on down to 125.50. So I'm looking for the euro to hit 125.50 over the next several hours with stops just above 12600. Now, of course, if something interesting happens in the news this afternoon, if Australia goes crazy, that can cause a little bit of euro movement. So just kind of keep that in mind, but things are looking pretty calm, and I like this movement right here. So I'm going to be looking for that to happen over the next couple of hours. Again, if we look at it in smaller time frames, you can kind of see there's a little bit more of a channel there. But really, I just want to see this push up just a little bit more into the 125.80s area, and then I'll probably be looking to short it from there down to 125.50. Pound dollar. So we had a great trade on the pound dollar this morning, and it looks kind of strange now because it was really choppy. But we ended up getting in on this pullback right here on this pound dollar and rode it down for 25 or 30 pips in this little movement right here. But then it kind of ran back up again. So we got our 25 pips out of it, and then it just bumped back up, and it still seems to be unable. It's kind of trying to break this 15700. It's like 15700, 15705, all of that general area, and it keeps trying to break that, but doesn't seem really to be able to. And if you look at it on the larger time frames, you can see that there's a lot of resistance and congestion up here around 157.50. That's been kind of the big breaking point, and our highs here are about 157.20. So it's really been hopping around and hopping around, and so I like this little trend line break. I like, just like we have on the euro dollar, nice double top here, and I like that, and I think it gives us a good opportunity to trade down to some of these key levels. So we have a nice little breakout in the works right here on this euro dollar, or excuse me, on this pound dollar. Stops are 35 pips away to get above some of these highs, but they're looking pretty good. We got a nice set of tweezers right there. We've got a nice pin bar on the 1 hour chart. I think the 4 hour even had something for us. There's a little bit of some pin bar activity on that 4 hour chart right there. So this is all looking pretty good to reverse and continue on down. So I like this, and I want to see some further downside here. And I'm looking to trade, from right in this general area to target number 1, which is about 156.50, and that's about 35 pips away, and then ultimately to target number 2, which is at 156.00. Now 156.50 is just in the middle of the 23 and the 38% fib, and 156.00 is the 50% fib. And again, that's of this short-term range right here, all this rally that was caused in that euro dollar action. So looking for that to happen. So I like that. Otherwise, if we get a break up above this 157.20, I think there's a good buying opportunity up into 157.50, where we see some nice resistance up in this general area here. So I think we've got about 30 pips to the upside above 157.20, and I think we've got about 30 pips to the downside as we start to break below this daily pivot and just give us a good old-fashioned trendline breakout. I think there's some good pips there, so we'll be looking for that to happen. Euro yen is kind of doing a similar little song and dance. If we go from the low to the high here, same kind of setup, same kind of situation. You see that it consolidated nicely down here, ran up with the news. Again, a big, nice rally, about 300 pips, just shy of 300 pips, and then it just didn't really hang on there too much. Held at the pivot for a little while and ended up breaking through that. Now we have a nice little trend line that it's crawling up. Above 100.30, I think this is a nice buying opportunity into the 100.70. That's a big level. That's a strong level, and there's 40 nice pips in there to be had. So 100.30 to 100.70 is a good area, number 1. And number 2, if we get a break of this trend line, I think the euro yen is really trying to just target some of these lower levels, like the fibs, as you can see here. It kind of consolidated around the 50, and then we have a 61.8 around 99.50, and I kind of like this 99.60, and you can see why there. Just some good support. So I think there's some nice pips to be had on that, somewhere in the 30 to 35 pip range on the downside. So I like that little break there. So again, above 100.30 or below the trend line is what we should be looking for there. And then just quickly on the Aussie dollar, we just have this little channel right here. It's pretty cut and dry. This thing has run up to our 100-day moving average, and this is a good bouncing point. But if it makes a break for it, we should get some nice pips. And so I'd be looking for a 1 hour open. Again, we have news coming out, but a 1 hour open above 102.65 or below 102.15. I want to see a 1 hour candle open above or below one of those levels, and I'm going to buy or sell in that direction. And then a quick little look at gold, 1600 being a good resistance right now. Having a hard time getting above that, and 1585 being a good support. So keeping an eye on those. We have some great setups and some more good pips coming today. So thanks a bunch, everyone, and we'll see you in the chat.